Hi everyone, I am Jeff Lawton. I'm going to look at this is game number 121 from the recent Carlsen versus Firouzja marathon bullet match. Bullet, in case you don't realise, is 1 minute chess, and Magnus Carlsen, the world champion, played 16-year-old Alireza Firouzja, who has burst onto the scene at the top level quite recently, the last year or so. And here he's playing against Magnus in a real long match, quite a test for him, at least in bullet chess. But he incredibly won the match in the end by a 13-point margin. So I'm going to look at this game, which was game number 121, and we've got Magnus playing white and Alireza is black. So we had 1e4. We had d5, the Scandinavian defense, ed5, queen d5. We had knight c3 attacking the queen, queen a5, d4, knight to f6, and knight f3. And we had c6, and now bishop to d2. At some point hoping to discover an attack against the queen and gain some time to bring this knight into play, further into play. We had bishop g4. Straight away, white Carlsen attacked the bishop, because usually if black just plays, he gets given time to play all his ideal setup of knight d7, e6 and treble o. You can get a decent game. So white tends to play sharply to try and get advantage against the Scandinavian, and that's what Carlsen did with g4, bishop g6, and now knight e5, knight d7, knight g6, hg6. So white has managed to double black's pawns, which makes it a bit harder for black to castle on the king side later, because of possibility of h4 to h5 opening up the king side, because white intends himself to castle queen side. And now Carlsen played strong move queen f3, and one of the points of this is that it's not so easy for black to play castles queen side, because g5 will force the knight to move, and then we can take the f7 pawn, probably because it's on pre. At least we might be able to do that now, or to do it a bit later. So we had e6 instead of that, and now castles queen side for white. Bishop to b4, and bishop c4, sort of, which is both an attacking move and also helps to defend the white king better. In particular, we're protecting a2 here. So we had knight b6, which this might reach probably reaches a new position that hasn't been played before. Bishop to b3, and now knight bd5. So we can see on the clock times here, which are at the moment they're updating. I should have said early, to be honest. Sorry about this. They update about every 5 moves or so, and then later on, towards the end of the game, these times are updated every move. So then we had king b1, and knight takes c3. If black tries to play queen here in order to protect f7, and therefore you can then play castles queen side. The difficulty is at the moment that knight d5 attacks the queen, and also there's an attack on the bishop, so you have to take back to keep the bishop protected. But then white can play the strong move c4, attacking the knight, so the knight can't give up the protection of the bishop. So black must do bishop d2 and then cd5. And now the bishop is under attack, so black doesn't have time to recapture the pawn. And after something like this, white can play de6, and well, this is just very strong for white now, because if you recapture, which you've sort of really got to do in order not to, on material-wise, you need to do that. Otherwise, white's just going to take here, and after fe6, bishop e6. Now the bishop's on a wonderful square, and because it's attacking these two squares, the black king can't get castled itself, and so this would be winning for white, because black's unable to connect the rooks. So we had knight takes c3, bc3, bishop to e7, and now it's c4, attacking the queen, a discovered attack on the queen. Queen b6 from Alireza, and now c5, attacking the queen, which went back to c7. Carlsen played rook to e1, rook h1. So we had a5, trying to attack back on the queen's side, because they can't prevent white's attack on the king's side. I mean, castles, it's just too slow really, and after h4, white is going to very quickly play h5 with a sort of really unstoppable attack, because black is a long way behind, and the white bishop does a good job of helping to block the b line if black opens it up. So we had a5 and now g5, attacking the knight, and rather than go to h5, which is where it's very out of play, we had knight d5, c4, knight b4, and a3, not leaving the knight in any piece. And now Firouzja played knight a6, which gives white a very strong attack after Carlsen's continuation. But a4 may be the best move, but then after bishop b4, a takes b3, d5 threatens to open the position up in the centre, and also threatens d6, winning a piece due to the fork, and that's very strong for white. So we had knight a6 in the game, and now bishop to c2. Now that the pawn was blocking the bishop comes back to a new diagonal here, back into the game. And now we had b6, where black's trying to get his own counterplay going against the white king. And now Carlsen played the fantastic move bishop g6, which he flashed out really quickly. It's fantastic intuition. But of course the black king is stuck in the centre here. So if black takes this, which he didn't do, we can play rook e6, and again we can't get the king out of the centre by castles, because rook c6 wins the queen due to the pin. And against, for example, well, otherwise you're just stuck, because white's threatening to play rook here with then threatening to take on e7, and there's no easy way out of that for black. The king will be stranded basically. So say after rook e6, black played rook f8 instead, hitting the queen. We can then play queen e4. Again, the king can't get out of the way. King d8 doesn't help, because then rook here, and still the bishop can't move, and black's completely move bound there. So after say bc5, opening up the b line for the rook and the queen, we have queen g6 check, rook f7, and now white can double, threatening rook e7, winning the queen. And after rook b8 check, king a1, king f8, in order so that after this we can capture with the rook. But white can just play queen h7. Now there's the threat of mate. If you move the rook down here, and we can just play g6, and then it's there's checkmate next move, no matter what you do with queen h8. So if you play, say, king e8, the only other move, we can then play g6, and that's now completely winning, because the rook is about to be captured, and if it moves, well, let's say here, then rook e7 wins the queen, and well, blasts open the position for white's queen and bishop. So instead of that, Firouzja tried castles. Carlsen brought his bishop back, both to now free his queen to attack on h5, and also to lend a bit more cover to his king. Bishops can do this; they can attack and defend at the same time, because they're long-range pieces. So we had b takes c5, queen h5, threatening checkmate. We had rook fb8 check, which helps because it gives the king an escape square. king a2. Now the difficulty is that white is still threatening, even though you've given one escape square. We're still threatening after queen h7, king f8, queen h8 is mate because the bishop cuts off the king moving to e7. So black could try this, but then white can capture, now threatening check, and then mate on h7, f7, or check here and mate on h8. So after fg6, we can play queen g6. King h8 simply runs into rook e4 with the unstoppable threat of rook h4, sort of like lawnmower type checkmate. And if king f8, something similar, we can play rook e4, threatening rook f4, sort of very strong rook lift. After bishop d6, to prevent this, white can then play rook e6, and now this time there's a threat of coming to f8, and also we can take the bishop if we need to. So after, say, queen b7, desperate try just to show you what can happen is just simply rook f6, check, king e7, rook f7, and now black gets caught on the back two ranks, queen g8, bishop f8, and queen f8, checkmate. So g6 wouldn't help. So Firouzja played bishop d6, which gives his king a way to walk out of the checks. So Magnus played queen h7 check, king f8, queen h8 check, king e7. So Carlsen has still got 25 seconds left, and Firouzja's got 22. So we had queen takes g7, and now knight b4, desperately trying to open up the position against the white king, because if he doesn't do that, he's obviously just getting crushed with his king here. So we had a b4, a takes b4, opening up a check from the rook. And we had king to b1, stepping out of check, and now queen a5, desperately trying for checkmate here. Now Carlsen found a wonderful way to finish off the game, a very elegant move. So I'll ask you just to pause the video, see if you can find the winning continuation, which Carlsen bashed out instantly. Okay, so welcome back. Well done if you found this, or even if you just wait to carry on and just look at the game. So the winning move, which Magnus played, was rook takes e6. And at this point, Firouzja played king takes e6. Excuse me. After rook e1 check, he resigned because he either has to go king d7 or bishop e5 to escape the check. And if you come here with bishop e5, we can play queen e5, king d7, and then we can play, for example, queen e7, king c8. Bishop f5 is checkmate. And if you play king d7 instead, white can play queen f7 check. You can't go king d8 because of rook e8 is mate straight away. So king c8 lasts, but not much longer. And there's many ways to win for white. For example, rook e8 check forces queen d8, and now bishop f5 is checkmate because the queen is pinned, and so can't delay the mate with queen d7. It's pinned by the rook. So a very nice and elegant and economic game by Carlsen, very impressive, and a game in which he only took 41 seconds. So I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you for watching. And I'm intending to do a few more of the games from this well, very unusual epic bullet chess match between the world champion and the 16-year-old chess phenomenon, really, Alireza Firouzja. Thank you for watching. Goodbye now.